All right. Oscar winner Natalie Portman has been a big Hollywood name for nearly 25 years. She captivated audiences when she was 12 in her first film, Léon the Professional. Portman has starred in wide-ranging movies like Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, and Black Swan and Jackie. She's also a longtime activist for animal rights and the environment. Her new documentary, Eating Animals, explores the rise of so-called factory farming in America and some of the potential alternatives to meat.
The movie is an adaptation of the 2009 best-selling book by the same name. Filmmakers spoke with industry experts and advocates about our country's eating habits.
People are not eating meat because of how it's produced. They're eating meat despite how it's produced. Yes, people eat a lot of meat now, but once people are given two choices, and one of them is healthier and environmentally sustainable and doesn't harm animals, and the other one is, what factory farming and slaughterhouses look like, I think we're going to see massive shift over to the plant-based technologies.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture says in a statement, a successful agricultural industry is vital to our nation. The average age of farmers is increasing, and USDA is focused on helping ensure the success of new farmers joining this vital industry to continue the legacy of caring for our land and forests and producing the food and fiber upon which our nation depends. Natalie Portman is a producer and narrator. Your voice is great on this. Narrator of Eating Animals. Good morning, and thank you for joining us at the table.
Yeah, great to have you here.
It really is. I watched it. It made me nauseous a couple times, but this is what got to me. And I'll say I am a meat eater. Meat industry, that you say in the doc, has done a good job of disconnecting eating meat from killing animals. When you eat meat, an animal has been murdered. And I was watching it eating a cheeseburger, and I set it down for a second going, okay, let me just take that in for a second. Because what you want us to know about this documentary, you're not wagging a finger at those of us who eat meat, but you want us to be aware of the consequences and what is happening here, specifically factory farming, and I had no idea what that is, what that was.
Well, I think that reading the book that this movie was based on, for me, was so eye-opening because he starts it with, Jonathan Safran Foer wrote the book, is writing letters to these companies producing the meat, saying, can I see how the meat is produced? Because I want to know whether to feed it to my kids or not, which is, if you called Welch's grape juice or Lay's potato chips, they'd take you on a tour of their factory. And it's completely closed, the meat industry. You cannot see behind the curtain. And you can't even talk about it. In certain states, there's laws where you're not even allowed to talk about what goes on. And it's because it would be appalling to any of us. Yeah. And it's 99-point-something%. It's almost all meat is produced this way, and dairy and eggs.
What would we be appalled about?
Well, the conditions are like factories. They're factory farms. It's not, when we think of a farm, we think grass and a barn and a farmer. This is mass-produced animals in very, very tight conditions, millions together, and not being able to roam.
And that's what the film makes clear in what it shows, and also what they feed the chickens and the turkeys to make them so large. The one fact that was so stunning was that a baby would be 600 pounds if it was fed and given the same things.
Right.
But I think his name was Frank, the turkey farmer, was interesting because, to Gayle's point, you're saying there are farmers trying to do it kind of the old-fashioned way, so that meat eaters can eat responsible meat that isn't creating the toxic runoff and all of that.
It's actually quite a conservative argument. Like, the people who used to do it well, the real farmers, the American farmers, salt of the earth people, are not being supported. And it's a really corporate system that's pushing them out and creating a very inhumane way of creating our food. And it's also polluting. It's the #1 contributor to pollution, more than cars. I mean, if you care about the environment, you should care about factory farming and, changing farming practices.
So what is the alternative for meat
Well,
eaters?
there's really great, first of all, I think it's unrealistic that people are going to completely change their lifestyle and eating habits.
We can cut down, though.
Exactly. I think being conscious once a day or once a week and just experimenting with what does it look like if one meal a day I don't eat meat. What is it one day a week? And then also, there are really great replacement things now. There's great replacement meats. There's the Impossible Burger. There's Beyond Meat. There's replacement cheeses, and there's all these like cheese and dairy and yogurt and made out of nuts or coconut milk. Or
No, it's very eye-opening and I think very educational. I think it's that people should watch it just because you'll learn a lot and it will get you thinking about things that you might not have considered before. I want to talk about Harvey Weinstein for a second because you were very vocal, one of the leaders of the Time's Up movement. When you saw him in handcuffs, Natalie, what did you think?
Well, I think it was, you know, unfortunately, there's not a win in this situation. So many people have been so hurt. But it is important for us to see that there's consequences even for the most powerful of the abusers. There will be consequences, and I think that's important.
I went back and looked because I was like, what Weinstein movies or Miramax movies was Natalie Portman in? And it was that 96 drama Beautiful Girls. And your co-stars were Uma Thurman, Lauren Holly, and Mira Sorvino.
I know. When so many of those women came forward, it was crazy to think I was 13 years old on a set where all the women around me were being really, really hurt, and I was lucky to be oblivious to that. But it was, I think, such a big wake-up call, of course, for all of us. And yes, I'm glad that there's consequences, but unfortunately, I wish it just didn't happen, and hopefully the consequences will prevent and deter other people from abusing their power.
And the conversation continues.
Yeah, Natalie Portman, wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much for
Thank you for being here. And Eating Animals is in select theaters today. We have reached out to several councils and associations in the meat and farming industries, and their statements are posted on CBSThisMorning.com.